So today I'm going to be responding to a YouTuber called Stargirl the Practical Witch. Stargirl makes videos for witches and teaches witchcraft, but in this video she shares her testimony about her experience with an alien. It is nothing new on YouTube for people to come on and share their testimonies about sleep paralysis and seeing demons or aliens while in that state. But the interesting thing about Stargirl is that she's also seeing them while she's awake. She wants answers. For those who don't know, very briefly, sleep paralysis is a sleep state in which the user is unable to move any of their limbs except for their eyes, and very commonly the individual will perceive shadow-like or alien-like creatures approaching them, and sometimes even cause them difficulty breathing. Hallucinations can be very intense during these episodes, and pretty much 100% of the time indicate a malevolent or an evil presence. So right off the bat, I would need to say to you, Stargirl, if you were to admit yourself to a hospital and share these things with a psychiatrist, they would diagnose you with paranoid schizophrenia and have you medicated. Now, I'm not going to do that today. I do, however, think that you are experiencing symptoms of paranoia.
Sometimes I would go out and I would interact with a stranger and something about them would seem off to me. I started to develop this discernment where I could tell if the person I was interacting with was actually a human soul or was an imposter.
But we're going to get into the testimony. I don't want you to think that I'm invalidating your experience in any way by saying that. In fact, I am going to try and validate your experience as much as I can for the duration of the video. So let's get started.
Around the time I was about 20 years old, I started having a lot of astral projection experiences. So pretty much astral projection is when you go to sleep and your soul leaves your body and you can actually perceive everything in your room, everything out in the world, exactly how it is when you are awake, except you're traveling on the astral realm. This is also known as an out-of-body experience.
I'm going to say that technically this will be the fourth installment of an ongoing conversation that we've been having on this channel about astral projection.
So anyway, I started having really bad sleep paralysis because before you have an out-of-body or astral projection experience, you start getting sleep paralysis. During the sleep paralysis that I would frequently get, I would actually see these entities at the end of my bed. And these entities had like a human shape, except maybe their limbs were a lot skinnier and their heads were a lot longer. And instead of being made of anything solid like flesh, these beings were made of like static electricity.
This is only one of possibly thousands of testimonies exactly like it, even given by celebrities such as Kendall Jenner or Shane Dawson.
Now presently what's been happening to me has also been pretty shocking because this is probably the most of an encounter I've ever had with another dimensional being or alien or whatever you want to call it. Recently, whenever I've been waking up after a long night's sleep, I've actually been seeing these 3 to 4 feet gray aliens. They have these huge heads that if you were to look at their profile, it would be this shape. They have these huge eyes and these really skinny bodies. And like I said, they're about the size of a garden gnome. Sometimes I will catch a gray alien walking in front of me or on the side of me, and instead of walking on the ground or walking on a solid surface, these things will actually walk mid-air, like they don't need ground to walk on. This has really shocked me because this wasn't an experience I've had when I was asleep. This is an experience I've been having when I'm fully conscious and awake, because one of the times I saw these gray aliens and I woke up, I actually rubbed my eyes and shook myself to see if it was still there, and it was still there, walking across the air just like this. Honestly, it didn't even seem bothered that I was awake, that I could see it, and it seemed completely unaware or completely careless about my presence, to be honest with you. So if anyone has had experiences seeing these gray alien short beings and you have answers as to why it is, then please let me know, because like I said, I don't have all the answers.
When I was a kid, my sister took a video of herself singing, and in the background was our TV. She was alone in the basement, and the same figure that you've drawn here walked across the TV screen while it was off. It was an unexplainable shadow, and it was on tape. We could watch it over and over again, and it looked just like this. Now I'm going to try and explain to you why this might be happening. You are a witch, And as I explained in my video, The Interview That Killed XXXTentacion, we are entering what's been dubbed the Age of Aquarius, the Age of Awakening. More and more people are learning about the New Age and mystery religions, such as yourself, and it was X's goal to have everybody evolve. And what he meant by evolve was that he wanted people to learn about these spiritual practices, the same ones that you teach about on your channel.
Like the people that dream, you enter a whole different realm, a whole different realm of thought. You get what I'm saying? So when you really think about it, when you leave this realm of thought, where do you go? When you dream, where are you?
So that's the dimensions.
That's the difference between this realm and others.
Every night when we dream, we are astral traveling. You can research that yourselves, but the term astral projection was originally coined by Theosophists under Helena Blavatsky, who I'm sure you, Stargirl, have read about. She was a satanic witch who believed that Lucifer was God, and it's by these people that I myself came across astral projection. I had read the testimony of Noncaliso, an African Satanist, who explained in a broken translation that she, quote, traveled through space. And I later learned that she was talking about astral projection. So, XXXTentacion wanted everybody to evolve.
My whole goal throughout the human race, for that matter, is to watch everybody evolve. You get what I'm saying?
And to do that, people needed to open their third eye. You, Stargirl, have opened your third eye by engaging in so many occult practices and just by being a psychic. So, like the other people whose astral projection testimonies I shared, XXXTentacion was a Luciferian. And I showed that in the other video, but X was very into the Kabbalah and the chakras like you are. The X in Kabbalah is a 6, and it's why he created his name to mean 666 The chakras in the Kabbalah comes from the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is why he has a tree on his forehead, because that would be the location of the third eye.
Now there's different realms. There's at least 9, and there's even animals that can see in all 9 realms or all 9 dimensions, like the snake, for example, or the cat. That you see the equivalency of their eyes. You know what I'm saying? They see all 9 dimensions. Like, get a cat, bring him to the house, set him in the middle of the floor, and you'll know if you got ghosts running around your house. Because the cat will look like cat. You'll notice that. You see how cats look around because they see everything. They're not looking at nothing, but they're looking at something that's in a different dimension that you can't see.
And they have that capability versus us.
Exactly. What we have is called the naked eye. But see, you can evolve, but they're looking at something that's in a different dimension that you can't see.
My explanation for you as to why you were able to see the alien is partly because you were waking up and your brain was probably still partially in that astral state that it's in when it's sleeping, but also because you have successfully done what X wanted for all people, to see them, quote, evolve. To put it the way X said it, it's like you were seeing through the eyes of a cat, because you've opened your third eye. You've effectively broken the barrier between your world and the spirit world. So I hope that clarified some things for you. But now I want to talk about some of the more outlandish theories that you had about believing that people who you interacted with were secretly reptilian aliens in disguise. You called them imposters.
Anyway, I watched this video about reptilian aliens put out by David Icke, who was one of the first people to talk about these beings.
Forget David Icke. I've read some of his stuff, and as well as people like Carl Sagan, he's just one of these projectors. He's leading people on.
And when he was describing them and when he was describing their character, it matched perfectly to what I had the lucid dream about. And he also said that they have malicious intent and they feed off of low vibrational human energy, because apparently everything in this world is energy, and these beings can actually feed off of this unseen energy around us. That is
A couple of years ago, I went to my last festival. There was a DJ named Quintino who played this large spinning red spiral on the screen and shouted at the crowd in a dark and almost evil voice, "Energy, energy, give me all your energy." And I just looked around and everyone was black-eyed from the molly, and it was just trippy. And then later, I stumbled across something that said Luciferians collect people's energy. So I typed into YouTube Quintino Satanic, and all I came across was this playlist with Quintino in it. So I left this comment, and eventually a witch actually did get back to me saying, bingo, Luciferians collect people's energy at things like festivals and raves.
Everything in this world is energy, and these beings can actually feed off of this unseen energy around us.
And it's these beings that the Luciferian witches feed the energy they collected to in return for whatever they want. And they don't just feed off low vibrational energy like a lot of you New Agers seem to think. They feed on intense anger, they feed on lust, they pretty much feed on any of the 7 deadly sins. I think that's why you see them often depicted with fire, because fire is concentrated energy. Greed is an energy. You feel it in your soul when you're counting money or when you gamble. Pride is an energy. This is why sex magic works. So really, by being a witch and doing what you do, you are feeding these beings. And the more you learn about this realm, you're going to find out that this is a demonic realm, and these are demonic beings.
That is why they work behind the scenes in the government and high positions of authority, controlling the world. Because apparently, these reptilian beings control the world in such a fashion that they have plenty of food source to feed off of. That's why, if you notice, there's a lot.
I'm going to be blunt with you here and say that I'm 99% sure that you have no idea what you're talking about. You're just regurgitating David Icke and the plot of a movie you saw. This isn't exactly how it's happening. It used to be half of the world's wealth when I was in school, but now I think it's something like 80% of the world's wealth belongs in the pockets of the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world. And it's these people who control the media and other industries. I'm not going to dwell too much into this right now because that's pretty much what my entire channel is about. So you'll need to watch my other videos if you want to learn more about that. But how the people control Hollywood and other industries are satanic. They're not reptilian beings. The Kabbalists. And people think that Kabbalah originates from Judaism, but it doesn't. It's all pagan and satanic.
That's why, if you notice, there's a lot of unnecessary bureaucracy, there's a lot of unnecessary war. That's why there's so much of an uneven balance of power. That's why it's all based on the root chakra. It's because that these reptilian beings have that mentality, and they are the ones who pull the strings behind the scenes.
So see, you're so close to the truth, but by saying this, people are just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and think it's all nuts. You know things. You know about astral projection at least. So I wanted to share a Bible verse with you that probably none of the Christians I know in real life can understand, because you probably could understand it because you have done astral projection. It says in Ecclesiastes, it makes mention of the silver cord saying, "Remember him before the silver cord breaks." You must have noticed that on the astral plane, your spirit is connected to this silver cord. The silver cord connects your spirit and your physical body, and when the cord is broken, it means you're dead. You will no longer be connected to the physical body. It is saying to remember God before you are dead, and many Christians will misunderstand this, but New Agers who have seen the silver cord should read it clearly.
Shortly after I discovered, or I had a feeling that my dream was more than a dream, and maybe I was having a vision of what was actually happening in the world around us, I started noticing that when I went out in public, I would actually start to tell whether or not someone was human or not. And each person that I encountered where I got the feeling that they were actually a reptilian in disguise.
Ja was a really complicated human. Despite everything he's been or was, or anybody's thoughts of him as an individual or as a whatever, I get it. You can have your opinions, it's okay. It's really weird to talk about because I don't think he was human, to be honest. And he didn't think he was human. I remember him telling me once, he was just like, "No, I'm not human. You're not human. We're both aliens. We're both aliens."
But they're not aliens. Every celebrity who sells their soul to the devil, whether they know it or not, empties a little bit of themselves, and a spirit inhabits their body. But even so, anybody who is not protected in the only way that you can be is pretty much fair game for these spirits. And that's what you're noticing when you think your doctor's a reptile in disguise. I assure you she's not. You're just in tune with the spirit realm, and the woman had a spirit inhabiting her. I do a whole video about spirit conjuring and channeling, but you rarely ever see someone go full demon. There's always still a piece of themselves in them. If you want to see someone go full demon, go watch Tori Amos perform Precious Things.
I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker. Will someone do the junior high hug dance? It's like this. You gotta make it real awkward.
That's exactly how
you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. And as Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down.
And people have said it was Illuminati, MK Ultra malfunctioned, that Al Roker was a robot, or he was a reptilian being. I'm telling you the truth. These are Luciferian demons, and they're terrified of the Holy Spirit.
Between the bodies in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock.
So I hope I've cleared some things up for you, Stargirl. The astral plane is essentially hell, as it's described in this ancient text. You don't want to get stuck there, but the only way out of that is to have a relationship with your creator, not exploit his work the way that you do.
See how there's a star in the middle? That's exactly what you want, because that is the star of creation. It doesn't matter what order, just make sure that the blood is on the star of creation on your apple.
I really do hope this wakes somebody up. Have a good week, guys, and God bless.